Hello, everybody. We're here and we're going to talk about a few things. I entitled this short video. It's going to be a few minutes. We're going to talk about a few things, what's going on in the life of me right at the moment. Um, as you see, stack of money and some numbers on a piece of paper. Um, so what we have here, I'm entitling this one "Why It's Hard to Run an Apple Stand," pretty much, or a farm stand. Um, and this is pretty much the pratfalls of this growing season with the apple stand I run every year. So this is year number 17 of running an apple stand, and this is the slowest I've had for the most part. We had a winter that was milder than, so you say, normal. We got a little bit of snow. We got enough snow to make it around average, but at the same time too, we had a lot of temperatures in the 40s, and I think that messed up the trees. And I got some picking videos. I may have made a video comment of some extent that it's not a good year this year. I may have not. So we're off of focus again. There we go. We should lock into focus. I don't know. There we go. Now we locked into focus. There we go. Perfect. I got the tablet going here today. So we are year 17 into our apple growing, and this is our worst year. I started a week and a half ago with sales. It's the latest in about say about 5-6 years. I've done it before, but I had more fruit. About a quarter of the trees put fruit on, and I wasn't expecting the drought per se, because we had a pretty dry May. Sometimes you have a dry May, June. You tend to have a wet July, August, and that did not happen. It was dry from, say, May 30th, 25th to 30th, all the way to about maybe a couple weeks ago. That's when we started getting the rain, just before Labor Day. And that wreaked havoc with the orchard pretty much. And with it being a cool spring too, it took forever to get things going with the pollination with the bees. This year was pretty long. The blossoms were on the tree for a long time. All the trees were out of blossom, and nothing really got pollinated or set. Therefore, about 75% of the trees did not have any fruit on them. 25% did. And last year we had to worry about gypsy moths. We had invasion onto the apples, the pears, the plums, the grapes, the willow trees. Thank God ash trees were dead. We had them onto the maple trees. We had them on, the maple trees had them bad. And we had them on the all the willows and the cottonwoods we have growing wild on the property. That sort of dictated what I was going to do. So because you always get like a 25%, 10 to 25% invasion of the gypsy moths, we just went in and we did like an insecticide first. We were trying to figure out how to do an insecticide to try to limit like gypsy moths and some of the other codling moths for the apples, worms, whatever. And this year we did first spray. We didn't do disease. We did insects, because we always had insect problems in first couple of sprays after the blossoms fall. The petals from the blossoms fall and all that stuff. And yeah, this year, as I said, we had pollination problems because I think we had upwards to 108 hours where the blossoms were available for pollination. And that did not work for the bees because the temperatures at night were into the 40s. They do some pollination at night. They tend to do it during the day, but also during the day it was in the 50s and 60s. And then first part of May, it's not great, because remember we had heat on still in May, so I mean it wasn't totally warm, but you get those 30-degree, 38-degree nights, and that just shuts down everything in bees. And they weren't really active because they were sort of on teetering. It's like if you had a bad night's sleep and you had a bad night's sleep and you just you didn't you have to go to work the next day, you feel like hell. That's what the bees were pretty much going through. And they don't respond well to that. It's a lot of stress onto a hive. It's a lot of stress to a colony, and they didn't respond well. We've had some flower issues. When it got warmer, yeah, it took forever for stuff to get going. The grapes took extra like almost 3 weeks to get really going, and we had a lot of winter damage this year in the arbors, and a lot of stuff is compounding. I got scab issues. I had disease where we had that new growth wilt, and scab was bad this year, and the thing is, it was a wet spring to begin with, and bees don't like wet springs. They tend to don't travel very far in a wet spring. They tend to stay put in their hives or colonies, and I just don't get anything out of it. And the thing is, I have friends with hives, and they don't have the capacity to plunk a hive and everything, and it takes a lot of work. You got to put this bees in sort of a comatose state to transport them. It's difficult. I've talked to them about it, and it does affect me a little bit. And I think some of the other orchards too had similar issues, that the bees were just lethargic and sluggish because it just was too cool, too wet, too long, and they got enough time. Uh, One orchard I know did close because this is around here. It was their third bad season, and they just threw into town. They'll just do wholesale. They won't do retail to us, to the public anymore. I normally go there to pick up some stuff to fill in the gaps, but that did not work. Um, yeah, and this is running farm stand, but I'm just talking about growing apples in general for this year, 2022 season. And with the scab was awful, and I did my normal spray routine, and it just dry is bad. So scab will develop in the spring when it's wet, and when it dries, it'll sort of like incubate. It'll put it in sleep mode and incubate, and when the wet weather picks up, boom, you got scab. It just explodes, and now I've got leaves falling out of trees. I got great defoliation from late scab outburst, and you can't. You can prevent it, but man, it's tough when it goes in there, and you got dry periods where you're spraying down everything as best you can, getting all the leaves wet with the pesticide, the insecticide, and the fungicides and stuff like that. And then you can only spray so much. Um, if you spray too much, you destroy the tree and the fruit and everything, and then you just have stuff that's not sellable. And I'd rather be on the errand of caution of not spray too much than making stuff poisonous. It's not the best way to do it. Yeah. So this year, 25%, and there's some fruit it wasn't even worth picking. It just can't sell it. We made a little applesauce, made some jam. And that was some of the stuff that we use. I had a pressing apple I had to leave on a tree because I had nothing to mix it with. And cider is a mixture of different fruits, so you can get the different essences and different flavors and different notes and stuff like that. And then it's only like a bushel, and it's going to be this flat, disgusting cider in the middle of a heat wave. We're still had 90-degree days, and if you do that, you're battling the bees and wasp and oh Christ, everything. Flies when you're doing it in 90-degree heat. It's not pleasant, and also too, it doesn't keep. I mean, you're trying to do this, you want to put in refrigeration immediately, and just again, it'll blow up within 2 days. I've had it where I had done it in heat waves, and you put it away in refrigeration as fast as you can, it still goes ferments and within a couple of days, and it's not good. So we're still not made a cider yet this year, and we're almost into October. It tells you how um bad it is. So as I said, this is just a hard way to do it because now we're talking into bad yield. This is sort of second year. Last year was a weak year. Yeah, about 50% of the trees put on stuff. I had enough material to go through. And a lot of it was late apples. I got a ton of late apples, no mid, no early, and it was just way how everything was pollinated and stuff like that, and what the bees were capable of doing and what was available at the time. So this is the hard way to run it, and the hard way to run it is actually going in and buying fruit from outside vendors. And this year, prices are outrageous. The way the economy is and everything, and that was a question family posed on me: are you going to buy fruit? And I said no. I'm going to go roll with what I got because it is so small, and I'm taking this year as a very, very short year because everything got done pretty much. Yeah, I don't say all at once. It's a little early. We're about a week and a half early on all ripening. So, and that was because it was warm and dry. And whenever you have a warm and dry summer, everything goes ripen fast. And my indicator tree is a yellow transparent. If I use the Dr. Way's timeline plot that he created back in the I think 1960s, he made up a thing where you go with the yellow transparents 9 weeks from when you pick your Macintoshes, and I was picking Macintoshes, second week of September, so I'm definitely week and a half on. And he had 9 weeks, so, and I was doing a few tree apples we did get in transparent. We're done mid-July, which is about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks ahead of normal, because we would pick them last week of July, the first week August, and that did not that didn't come to fruition this year because Japanese beetles were just horrendous because of the heat and dry. There was nothing to keep the numbers down, so they all hatched. I had damage on trees, I had damage with the grapevine. They were everywhere and atrocious. And this year I didn't have the green fly like I normally do, but apple worm is pretty bad this year. This is one of the worst years. Not with codling. Normally I had the codlings in it, and I get quite a few, but yeah, I'm getting a lot of the apple worm, more so than normal. It didn't destroy a lot of fruit. It just was prevalent because I didn't have a lot of fruit that was there, and I see the damage from it. And it was tough to look at the trees August on and sit there and say I'm gonna have a productive year. It was that bad. I knew in August it was just going to be this grind, and it's a grind right now because I'm still working with trying to get some other projects. I started a major digging project. I got videos of that coming up, and I got a few other things I'm doing right now, train shows, and I'm expanding that this year. I think we're having some issues trying to keep good quality stuff. And this is not the way to run farm stands this year. I can say that. So we started mid September with picking stuff that we could pick to sell, and it's sporadic all over the place. So no mid-season apples. So really, we had nothing to offer folks. Pears did good. Pears always do pretty good. So I got the two varieties of pears. We did lost our bosque. We got a replacement tree for that. That's in the ground. We are working on trying to maintain the orchard for future development. And we're going to talk about finances here a little bit. So right now I got $51 and $7. So far 2 weeks and $58. I lost an outlet with changing jobs. I went from a bigger company to a smart company, and smart company, they know I sort of do this, but they don't know I do this sort of thing. And it's difficult in my position, the way it is, and how we're busy right now. It's just difficult to try to, work up the sale pitch. So this year we're just going to chalk it up to just changes and stuff that we're not going to have, sales outside of the thing. And because of the stand the way it is, we started late. I just put things up. I didn't go all out, put the big boards up. I got the sign on the corner where my sister's house is, where we're selling. Yeah, no, I normally go on to the marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, put up ads. No ads this year, just because there's just nothing to offer. I mean, I'll do the local folks, but I won't do ads where I get people from Rochester come down and they do that. I have one inquiry that's an ongoing inquiry. Told me to call him, and he hasn't called back yet, so I'm thinking I'm not supplying him. He was a holdover from, I think, 2 years ago. I think he bought from me. He said it was a year ago. I think it was 2 years ago, but he's familiar, but he's a good guy. I'm giving him some benefit. He wants pineapples in, and that's cool. I'm going to have pineapples at that time, and I would like to, if he wants to take a couple bags off me, I'd be grateful. So that's something, but he kept in touch with me, so it's this guy cool. Anywho, yeah, so first week October would be probably the last of the picking, so it'd be the next week. This is the 25th, I think, 25th. Yeah, 25th. And we're just doing a little video here, about 15 minutes long right now, but it's that sort of season, go back. So this is how not to run a stand. Well, if you have no fruit and it's expensive to get replacement fruit, this is hard life. This is very hard work to do this, and when you go up in there and you lose 75% of your capacity just because it didn't set, it's difficult. It's very difficult to justify that you put all this energy in. And I think one year I got worse, where none of the trees put out, and that was babysitting a bunch of trees. You just can't let them go. You still got to trim them. You still got to do the work. You still got to spray them for disease, and it's a different feel. It's like you're going through the motions when you go out and work on the stuff, and that's what it feels like right now. Is that you're going through the emotions of going through and have to go and do just a little work just to get a little bit in. Again, this is money, of course, but and the thing is, this year everything's gone up due to inflation. I didn't go out and get fruit because if I did that, I have to raise prices at the stand. And I did that. I did a big swing last year with the prices before all this inflation. And we're talking still 9% inflation. And you can't do this 9% on top of 9% on top of 8% and have stability for pricing for a product that is a commodity. And commodity prices are all over the place still, because you still have shipping issues. You still have leftover pandemic stuff. We have supply chain with issues from pandemic stuff from the pandemic and stuff and things like that. And also too, gas prices at $5 a gallon in May. A lot of people burned up their vacation, a lot of extra money on vacation, traveling during Memorial Day. And that is a thing where, I can't provide, people a product at a price without eating into their bottom line. And a lot of people's bottom lines are extremely strained right now. Right now, this is 2022. We actually have an increase into our fuel oil from I think it was $4.35 last year a gallon, to Mom locked in at $5.09. And if everyone has a 20 to 25% increase in their